There is a silence that sits at the center of your existence. It is a truth so absolute, yet so terrifying, that the human mind has built elaborate fortresses to keep it out. The truth is this: you are going to die. This is not a revelation. This is not breaking news. It is the oldest information in your DNA. You have carried this knowledge since the very first moment you understood what it meant for a flower to wilt, or for a bird to lie motionless on the pavement. You have known it since the first time the concept of forever was shattered by the reality of a grandparent's empty chair. You know it, of course, you know it. But there is a fatal flaw in the way you hold this knowledge. You keep it in a glass case, locked away in the museum of your mind. It sits somewhere far away, on the distant horizon of your timeline. It floats at the very edge of your consciousness like a dark, storm-laden cloud, always present, always looming, but never quite touching your skin. You have convinced yourself that death belongs to a mysterious realm called someday. It belongs to later. It belongs to other people, to the elderly, to the infirm, to the tragic figures in the news, to the sterile white rooms of hospitals. It does not belong to this morning. It does not belong to the coffee you are drinking. It does not belong to this specific breath you are taking right now. Because we have exiled this knowing to the wasteland of the future, we commit the greatest crime against our own souls. We postpone living. We become hoarders of time, assuming our supply is infinite. We postpone saying, "I love you," to the people who anchor our lives, not as our hearts are cold, but because we are arrogant. We assume there will always be another dinner, another phone call, another holiday. We postpone forgiveness, clutching our anger like a precious stone, telling ourselves we will let it go when we are ready, when the wound has healed, when the timing is perfect. We postpone releasing the heavy burdens of resentment and anxiety, treating our mental peace as a luxury item we will purchase at a later date. We know death as a sterile concept, a biological eventuality. But we have never allowed it to break our bones. We have never felt it deeply enough to shatter the hypnosis of our daily routine. This is the catastrophic error that Buddhist teaching has been illuminating for over 2,500 years. The ancient masters did not point to the grave to paralyze you with terror. They did not use the specter of death to enforce obedience or to create a morbid fascination with decay. They offered a radical, dangerous invitation to look directly into the abyss, to bring death so close that you can smell it, to let the reality of your extinction shock you into being alive. In the ancient traditions, there is a practice known as Maranasati, mindfulness of death. The modern mind recoils at this. It imagines a practice of morbidity, of sitting in dark rooms, dwelling on rotting corpses and funerals. But this is a misunderstanding born of fear. Maranasati is not depressing, it is electrifying. It is not about darkness, it is about the blinding light of clarity. In the Maranasati Sutta, the Buddha describes this practice with the precision of a surgeon. Mindfulness of death, when developed and pursued, is of great fruit and great benefit. It gains a footing in the deathless, has the deathless as its final end. Pause and let the weight of those words sink in. Contemplating your own end does not lead to despair. It leads to the deathless. In the Pali language, the deathless refers to nibbana, the unconditioned reality, the cessation of all suffering, the state that is beyond birth and decay. This is the supreme paradox of the spiritual path. By facing death fully, by accepting it without flinching, you touch something that cannot die. By embracing the terrifying speed impermanence, you discover the stillness that does not pass away. But we must be surgically precise about what we are doing here. This is not an endorsement of pessimism. We are not here to drown in nihilism. Nor is this a call to the shallow philosophy of living fast, that desperate, hedonistic scramble to consume as much pleasure as possible before the lights go out. That is not facing death, that is running from it while screaming. That is panic disguised as a party. What we are exploring is a transformation of consciousness. We are speaking of a shift that alters not just what you do, but how you perceive color, how you hear silence, how you inhabit the space of a single ordinary Tuesday. There is a word in the ancient Pali language that diagnoses the human condition with terrifying accuracy. The word is Pamada. Translators often render it as heedlessness or negligence, but these English words are too polite. They are too soft. Pamada is spiritual sleepwalking. It is the state of being biologically alive while metaphysically dead. Pamada is the act of letting your life hemorrhage away while your mind is elsewhere. It is the tragedy of the body being present while the consciousness is lost in the ghostly realms of the past or the imaginary terrors of the future. It is living on autopilot, a biological machine reacting to stimuli out of ancient habit, rather than responding with sovereign awareness. You know, this state is the baseline of modern existence. It is the meal you ate but never tasted because your mind was devouring a digital feed. It is the conversation with a loved one where you nodded your head, but your soul was miles away, calculating a to-do list for a tomorrow that is not guaranteed. It is the sudden, horrifying realization that a decade has passed, and you are still waiting for the right time to start the work that matters to you. Pamada is insidious. It shows up in the micro moments. It manifests when you explode in rage over a traffic jam, completely forgetting that both you and the other driver are fragile creatures destined for the grave. In that moment of rage, you have forgotten that the argument, the irritation, the desperate need to be right will mean absolutely nothing when your heart stops. You hold on to grudges as if you have centuries to resolve them. You chase status, approval, and digital applause without ever stopping to ask the terrifying question, will this matter when I am taking my final breath? From the perspective of the awakened ones, there is no greater tragedy than this. A life is not wasted by a lack of trophies or a small bank account. A life is wasted by a lack of presence. A lack of waking up to the miracle that is vanishing right before your eyes. In the Dhammapada, the anthology of wisdom that has guided seekers for millennia, there is a verse that cuts through our delusions like a diamond sword. Heedfulness is the path to the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. The heedful do not die, the heedless are as if already dead. The heedless are as if already dead. This is not a metaphor, it is a diagnosis. The teaching asserts that death is not merely the event that occurs when the E-Kide flatlines. There is a far more common form of death, a necrosis of the soul that happens while the lungs are still filling with air. It is the death of absence, the death of distraction, the death of allowing the precious, unrepeatable days to slip through your fingers like sand, lost in a fog of triviality. You can walk the earth for 80 years and be a ghost for 70. 9 of them dead to the beauty of the light. dead to the vulnerability of others, dead to the raw texture of reality. Why is this our default setting? Why is Pamada the gravity that pulls us all down? The answer is brutally simple: because death feels far away. When you opened your eyes this morning, the thought "I might die today" did not cross your mind. You thought about your coffee. You thought about your emails. You thought about your problems. The ego protects itself by projecting continuity. It assumes a future. Death is an anomaly, a glitch that happens to other people. It is something for the new cycle, not for your living room. Because death feels distant, there is no urgency. The fire is not hot enough to move you. You tell yourself you can meditate tomorrow. You can write the book next year. You can fix the relationship later. There is always more time. The reservoir is full, until suddenly it is empty. The Dhammapada speaks to this universal delusion. People, other than the wise, do not realize we in this world must all die, and not realizing it, continue their quarrels. The wise realize it, and thereby their quarrels cease. Imagine, for a moment, the transformative power of this realization. Visualize the person you are currently in conflict with. Now, strip away the narrative of who is right and who is wrong. See them as a physical being. See the fragility of their body. Realize deeply that they will die. Their voice will be silenced. Their memories will dissolve. You will die. The space between you will be empty. When this truth hits you in the gut, the quarrel becomes absurd. It becomes a grotesque waste of precious energy. Suddenly, the only thing that makes sense is connection. The only logical move is love. However, we must make a crucial distinction. Heedfulness, the antidote to this sleepwalking, is not a state of panic. It is not about hyperventilating through life, rushing to tick boxes off a bucket list before the reaper comes. That is just another form of anxiety. Heedfulness is not about doing more at it, it is about being more. It is about increasing the density of your presence. It means performing every action, washing a bowl, walking to the car, listening to a friend with the totality of your being. It is a calm, majestic intensity. There is a story in the ancient text that illustrates just how radical this standard of mindfulness truly is. In the Maranasati Sutta, the Buddha questions a group of monks regarding their practice of death awareness. One monk, proud of his diligence, answers, "I think to myself, may I live for a day and a night that I may attend to the teaching. I would accomplish much." Another monk, seeking to outdo him, says, "I think to myself, may I live for just a single day." The timeline shrinks. Another suggests half a day. Another suggests the time it takes to eat a single meal. Finally, one suggests, "May I live for the time it takes to chew and swallow 4 or 5 mouthfuls of food." You would expect that the Buddha to praise these monks for their seriousness. They are measuring their lives in minutes and mouthfuls. But the master's response was shocking. He told them, "You are still living heedlessly. Even assuming you have the time to eat a meal is an assumption you cannot afford. It is a gamble with reality." The Buddha then defined the true standard. One should be mindful of death like this: "My life lasts only as long as one breath." Practicing mindfulness of death in this way is to live without heedlessness and leads to the ending of all defilements. One breath. The inhale is birth, the exhale is death, and the space between them is your entire life. This is the only guarantee you have. Not a year, not a week, not the time it takes to finish this video. One breath. Everything beyond that is a hallucination. Everything beyond that is a story you are telling yourself. In the Bhattacharya Sutta, this urgency is codified into a warrior's chant. Today is the day to keenly work. Who knows, tomorrow may bring death. For there is no bargain to be struck with death and his mighty horde. There is no negotiation. You cannot bribe the forces of entropy. You cannot ask for an extension because you were too busy scrolling through social media. You cannot say, "Wait, I haven't become the person I wanted to be yet." Death is not a merchant. It does not trade. It does not send a calendar invite. It does not wait for you to organize your affairs. This is not a threat. It is the physics of existence. And when you let this truth penetrate your defenses, when you really let it in, a strange alchemy occurs. You might expect staring into the face of your own mortality would break you. You might expect a crushing depression. But that is not what happens to the practitioner. What arises from the ashes of your illusions is a fierce, heartbreaking gratitude. This is not the superficial gratitude of a journal prompt. This is a visceral shock. It is the sudden appreciation that comes when you realize the rarity of the object in your hands. When you understand that the cup of tea you are holding is temporary, that your hand holding it is temporary, the experience of drinking the tea becomes sacred. One day there will be a last cup of tea. One day you will hear your mother's voice for the final time, and you may not even know it is the finale. One day, the light filtering through your window will be the last light you ever see. When impermanence stops being a philosophy and starts being a sensation in your body, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The mundane becomes miraculous. You do not need to force yourself to be grateful. The gratitude erupts spontaneously because you finally see the truth. Nothing is owed to you. Nothing is guaranteed. Therefore, everything that is happening right now is a gift of impossible magnitude. The teachings speak of humanity being intoxicated by three poisons: the intoxication of youth, the intoxication of health, and the intoxication of life itself. We are drunk on the illusion of permanence. This drunkenness blinds us. It makes us cruel, lazy, and numb. But the contemplation of death is the sobering agent. It snaps us out of the trance. A person who walks with death as a companion does not become gloomy. They become soft. They become permeable. Their defenses drop. And alongside this profound gratitude, another power arises: compassion. When you look at a stranger and realize that they, too, are marching toward their own extinction, when you realize that behind their anger or their arrogance is a frightened creature that will soon turn to dust, your judgment collapses. You cannot hate what is perishing. You see others not as enemies in a drama, but as fellow travelers on a brief, fragile journey. If you are listening to this and feeling the cold grip of regret, if you feel you have squandered years in the fog of heedlessness, let that weight drop. Regret is just another form of living in the past. It is another way to waste the present. The past is a phantom. It does not exist. What matters is the sovereignty of this moment. This is not about guilt. This is about responsibility. It is the recognition that you have the power, right now, to snap your fingers and wake up. You are the architect of your karma. You are the owner of your actions. We have traversed deep waters. We have seen how the denial of death leads to a wasted life, and how the embrace of death leads to the awakening of the heart. But intellectual understanding is a booby prize. It is not enough to agree with the philosophy. You must become the philosophy. So how do we weave this into the fabric of a modern, chaotic life? There is an ancient protocol recorded in the Upadhyayana Sutta, a set of 5 daily contemplations designed to deprogram the intoxicated mind. These are not affirmations. They are statements of hard reality. I am subject to aging. I cannot escape aging. I am subject to illness. I cannot escape illness. I am subject to death. I cannot escape death. All that is mine, dear and delightful, will change and vanish. I am the owner of my actions, heir to my actions. Whatever I do, for good or for evil, to that I will fall heir. Repeat these truths until they dissolve your arrogance. When you truly see that everything you love will vanish, you stop clutching it so tightly, and you start loving it more purely. You stop trying to possess, and you start to cherish. When death stops being abstract, presence becomes your natural state. You don't have to try to be mindful. You eat, and you taste the universe in a grain of rice. You listen, and you hear the soul of the other person. You look and you see the vibrant, burning energy of the world, stripped of the gray filter of habit. In the Bhattacharya Sutta, the instruction is beautifully simple. Don't run back to the past. Don't anticipate the future. What has passed is left behind. The future has not arrived in any present phenomenon you clearly discern in every case. This is the invitation. Stop being a time traveler. Stop haunting the ruins of yesterday and the castles of tomorrow. Collapse your entire existence into the pinpoint of the now. Understanding death does not cast a shadow over life, it removes the ceiling. It allows you to stand up to your full height. When death is your advisor, you stop postponing what matters. You stop fighting over scraps. You stop holding on to the poison of resentment. You begin to notice the symphony you have been ignoring. You begin to live. Truly live. This is not fear. This is freedom. If these words have penetrated your armor, I offer you one final, immediate practice. Stop. Place your hand on the center of your chest. Close your eyes. Feel the rhythm against your palm, that beat, and another, and another. That is the drum of life. It is the only thing separating you from the void. You did not earn this heartbeat. You cannot command the next one. It is a gift of staggering proportions. You are still here. The game is not over. You have this moment, right now. What will you do with it?